Name's Jay, a lad no one ever notices, a ghost in the room just taking up oxygen. Every time I hang out with mates, I'm the one left in the background like an NPC. Even if there's one girl in the squad, somehow I'm still the invisible man. They say if you're a bloke, you need a dog to pull the ladies' attention. Well, I've got one, and still not even a blip on their radar. Oi, what a cute pup, they say, while looking right past me. Bruv, I swear this mutt gets more love than I do. Jay smiles bright, says the pup's name like it's royalty. The girls melt, calling it adorable. One even squeals. Brown hair lass tilts her head, says, dunno where the owner's at. Jay freezes inside, screaming, Oi, I'm right here. Am I cursed to be background forever? Then a cry for help cuts through. Someone's flailing in the water. Jay's eyes sharpen. He bolts and dives like a pound-shot Baywatch hero. Water splashes. He hauls a soaked girl to the edge. She gasps, thank you. And Jay just stares, thinking, did she finally clock me? Jay clutches the girl tight, fighting the pull of the water. A massive whirlpool spins beneath them like nature just hit the flush button. He kicks hard, but the drag yanks them under. His voice fades into a desperate help as darkness swallows them. A single glowing drop falls into calm water, sending ripples out. Jay blinks, and suddenly he's in a sprawling ancient courtyard, mountains rising behind. With a burst of strength, Jay leaps up and letting out a fierce ha! Jay wakes up, thinking, who am I? Where am I? By the window stands Raven, her tone sharp, saying it's a waste letting you lead when you just freeze up. Snow sits nearby, telling Jay that from today he'll be their head. Jay blinks. Head? What happened? Didn't I just drown? Could it be fate decided to give me a promotion instead of a coffin? Raven leads him outside the courtyard, filled with disciples shouting, long live the headmaster! He smirks, saying, master of a great faction. Hard to be ignored now, isn't it? Snow says from now on, she and Tuo Bar Xuan will protect him. Jay stares blankly, thinking from invisible to leader of female apprentices. He pinches himself. Nope, not dreaming. A grin creeps in as he laughs. Since I'm the big boss now, of course I'm brilliant, strong, and devilishly handsome. Jay beams, fists clenched, saying, what a perfect day to be master. Raven stares unimpressed, asking, seriously, already? He mutters to himself, this woman's is not good with me, in the beginning. A woman with icy blue hair steps in. We'll call her Frost. Frost says, master, lunch is ready, but it's a bit light. Jay's brain thinks, light or not, I'll eat like a king. Snow pipes up saying, she'll help him dress. Jay waves her off saying, nah, I can do it myself. Raven rolls her eyes and says, fine, do it yourself then. Hurry up. You've been targeting me from the start, and I've endured it for ages. Raven Frost calls out, master, your leg. Jay freezes mid-step. Frost points down your leg. Raven says, you're barely awake. Only half your spiritual power is left. A cripple who can't even stand firm is worse than trash. Jay glares, what? Snow shakes Jay awake. Master, are you up yet? Jay groans, asking what's going on. Snow says there's trouble outside and it sounds bad. Jay mutters, can't even get a day of peace. A loud crash shakes the air. Outside, a bald monk stands, fists ready, shouting, where's Jay? Raven steps forward, spear in hand, saying, you've picked the wrong place to cause trouble, monk. Frost warns him, this guy's a nightmare to deal with. Snow whispers, master, maybe you should hide. Jay smirks, saying, well, I don't want breakfast getting cold. Jay lies there, thinking this lot can't handle that bald bloke. If I don't step in now, things will get messy. He grits his teeth, saying, I'll have to do it. Outside, Raven and the monk clash their strikes, shaking the ground. The monk laughs. Your strength is nothing before me. Raven snarls, saying she's going to end this. The monk blocks with ease, telling her not to overestimate herself. Raven takes a heavy hit. Snow shouts, instead of wasting time, just finish him. Frost yells, Swanway, no. Jay bursts out, stop. The monk smirks, oh, you kid. Is this the useless new head? If you want to take the head seat, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Jay mutters, oh, trash talker. The monk snarls, you dare shout at me, and swings a heavy strike. Frost, Raven, and Snow all shout, master. The monk slams into the ground with a thud. Jay thinks to himself, my life's been a joke, invisible to everyone, and now, even with these girls around, I'm still just a background extra. But even if I'm going out, I'll go out like a man. He grips his staff tight and charges. The monk grins. "Oh, you've got spine for a piece of trash!" Before swinging at Jay. Blood drips from Jay's mouth. Before, no girl had ever looked straight at me. But now it's different. They've seen me. Before, no girl had ever remembered me. Now they will. Jay pushes himself up, blood on his lips. This moment from now on, he grips his weapon as power flares. I want them to remember me forever. The monk staggers back, clutching his wound. He mutters, "Shixian arrow, how is this possible?" Snow gasps. "Just now, that was Raven's." Eyes widen. "How is it possible?" Disciples shout, "Protect the master!" The monk growls, "That's all for today, ladies. I'll be back again," before retreating with his men. Jay thinks, "What just happened? Where did that arrow even come from?" Snow hugs him, saying, "Master, you're amazing," explaining it was the ancient Shixian arrow that nobody could control. Before Jay winces, saying, "Easy my waist," he wonders, "Did I actually win?" Snow apologizes for forgetting. He's still injured. Raven asks, "What if you could control that arrow?" Snow says, "It depends, if he can be a good head and see the future clearly." Raven wonders if this is why her mother chose Jay and what secret he's hiding. Jay thinks Shixian arrow magic weapon looks like the gods are still on my side. This has to be my cheat. Frost notices his leg and says, "Look at Master's leg. Why does it seem fine now?" Jay thinks, "Yeah, what's going on after getting battered? I've got a cheat and my leg's healed too." Snow cheers, saying, "The head is talented. We don't have to fear Chimo anymore." Jay laughs but feels uneasy. Raven warns not to get too happy. The real trouble is coming. Jay wonders what she means. Raven explains the Shixian faction has kept a low profile, seen as weak. But now, with the Thunder Beast sect defeated, if word gets out about the Shixian weapon, things will escalate. Raven warns more enemies will come after them now. She says peaceful days are over. Jay asks, "You mean caught or maybe killed?" Raven smirks. "What do you think?" Jay panics inside, wondering how to be a proper head. He groans, "It's so hard. There's only one dead end." But then thinks, "If I don't lead, I'll stay invisible to women forever. For the sake of the three of them, I have to endure and not lose my temper." Jay shouts, "If I don't want to be crushed, the most important thing is to build my own strength." He groans, "If I'd known I'd end up here, I'd have read more cultivation novels." Snow calls from outside, saying she's here to tidy his bed. Jay smiles, saying yes, though he doesn't fully understand. He trusts her and the others. To protect the Shixian faction, he decides to set up 3 branches responsible for recruiting disciples and managing sect affairs. Raven declares Iceberg Queen Hall Frost, announces Mengmei, Hall Snow, proudly names Xiaowe Sai Gao. Hall Snow and Frost then blink in confusion, asking what Mengmei and Sai Gao even mean. Raven snaps, "Is this your plan, Jay? Do you want to run the sect like this? My mother must have been wrong about you." Jay says if something happens to the Shixian faction, the first person they'll come for is me. He asks what benefits they get for taking responsibility. Raven says she trusts his abilities, unlike some who just hold titles without doing real work, and tells him if he's afraid to. So, Jay replies he's never been afraid and will take the role. She tells him not to let her down. Jay grins inside. Yes, it worked. Meanwhile, in the Thunderbeast sect, the monk calls Jay trash, but says he's the one chosen by the Bai Emperor sword, and now is the perfect time to take the Shixian arrow. Jay looks at the Shixian arrow, thinking, "So you really are the weapon sent for me." He declares, "From now on, the boss will counterattack and protect his sisters. It's all on me." He shouts, "Heed my orders! Rise, rise!" Nothing happens. Jay groans, "Why won't it work? Can it only be used once?" Jay calls out, "Don't squeeze, line up, come to my side to register." He's surprised at how fast new disciples are arriving. Since the Thunderbeast fight, he feels he needs to keep up appearances. Snow gathers the crowd, saying with this many people, defeating the Thunderbeast sect isn't impossible. Frost tells them to hurry and join before it's full. Raven sits at the registration desk, coolly rejecting a pass. Jay reacts in shock. Jay asks why not accept it. Raven says she's here to recruit women, not shady blokes looking for trouble. Jay points out they came all this way just to harass before even signing up. One man creeps on Frost, calling her beauty and asking to be siblings. Frost shouts at him to stay away. Jay steps in, yelling stop and shaming the man for bothering her. Then, two strangers approach, mocking Jay as the so-called leader who used the Shixian arrow to beat the monk. Jay shouts, "I don't believe it," as a punch slams into his face, knocking him back. Snow cries out for him not to come closer. Thinks, damn, that hit landed fast in front of so many people. I can't lose face. He tells himself today's about recruiting, so he doesn't want to cause trouble and must keep the peace. Jay grabs the man's wrist mid-swing. The man scoffs. So much talk. If you're tough, use the Shixian arrow on me. Energy flares from Jay as the man's face shifts from smug to startled. Jay says, "If you've got something to say, now's the time." The man stumbles back, realizing Jay's strength isn't normal. A flash of light appears. It's the Shixian arrow. Jay thinks, "So you decided to show up, big guy." Just in time. The man backs off, saying they'll remember this, but won't return. The crowd cheers. The head is mighty. Jay smirks, telling himself, "Huh, that was a piece of cake." Raven notes this is the second time Jay has used the Shixian arrow and wonders if that's why her mother chose him. Jay complains about constant fights and asks the arrow if it enjoys making him get beaten before helping. He then vows to figure out how to control it quickly. The arrow glows and drops a book into his hands titled Peiying Heart Sutra. Meanwhile, the monk learns Jay can control the arrow and vows to kill him once he recovers. Jay sits cross-legged, focusing his breathing energy to Dantian. Inhale, exhale, come on! He jumps up asking, "Can it work?" Seeing no result, he yells at the arrow, calling it his cheat and complaining it's been half a month with nothing to show for it. Jay calls out to his master, asking if she wants to play. She coldly replies she's busy teaching the new disciples basic skills. He insists she teach him instead, claiming he needs her more. She pauses, holding the Peiying Heart Sutra, and asks if he's certain. The others wonder why she's suddenly being polite. She smirks, thinking since he begged her first, she won't hold back. Ah Ying explains that while Jay can summon the Zhenxian arrow, he can't fully control its power without a Peiying Heart Sutra. Before he can ask what's next, she shouts, "Lightweight," and sends a massive boulder crashing towards him. Jay stumbles, bracing against the crushing weight. She warns him if he can hold it purely with physical strength for a minute, they can move to the next stage. Gritting his teeth, Jay insists he can do it, even as his body trembles. He pushes through, demanding to try again and again, sweat pouring as his arms shake. Ah Ying watches closely, then steps forward, telling him they can stop for the day if he can't go on. The boulder slams down and Jay strains under its crushing weight, gritting out, "Must not, say I can't." Ah Ying casually tells him to hold it while she cultivates, promising to relieve him after. Jay's eyes widen. What? He begs her not to joke around, warning he'll actually die if she leaves him like this. Meanwhile, she sees Zhou Ming staggers under the massive boulder, sweat pouring as he sees Yi Qing approach. "You finally came," he gasps, voice trembling. She rushes over, only to find him barely holding on. "Are you stupid? I didn't know you wouldn't put the stone down." Through gritted teeth, he insists, "I promised you. A true man must be true to his words." Her expression softens just a fraction before she mutters, "You fool." Jay collapses onto the ground, gasping. "Ugh, almost died." He eyes the boulder suspiciously. Is lifting that thing even useful, or is Zhao Ying just messing with me? Determined, he summons his energy. "Zexian arrow, come!" The blue aura bursts forth, only to start pummeling him. "Oi, I'm your master. You trying to rebel?" Before he can recover, a disciple bursts in. "Master, urgent report for the Hallmaster." Jay blinks. Change of Hallmaster? Request to change someone? The gathering begins. The disciples line up dressed in white. One steps forward and bows. She speaks on behalf of Iceberg Green Hall, pleading with the headmaster to decide on an urgent matter. The headmaster invites her to speak. She explains Zhao Yiqing's training has been far too harsh, leaving disciples broken and unable to continue. They demand she be replaced. The headmaster looks conflicted, acknowledging Zhao has always been strict, but never without reason. Yet the disciple presses harder, saying Zhao does not understand the pain of others. Only the head can. Mend the hearts of the disciples, so they beg him to act. The disciple leans closer, whispering that they only need him to make the call. The headmaster thinks it over before nodding. Subtle or not, he agrees to follow through. The disciple bows, saying she will persuade the others to return to their quarters first. Once the stage is clear, the headmaster gathers everyone together, his voice carrying across the courtyard. He declares they're short. The lass with blue hair explains that there are 3 ways to boost the sect. First, submit all exercises for review to the court, but that means giving up the sect's lifeblood to outsiders, risky and rare. Second, defeat another government-level sect outright, but Zhexian sect isn't strong enough, despite felling the Thunder Beast head. Third, kill and present 3 government-level beasts, which is the safest route for climbing up the ranks. The headmaster cuts in straight away, asking if the Thunder Beast sect's head still counts. Zhao reports that the disciples of Iceberg Hall are preparing to face the beast again. Another disciple shouts, "Master," but he silences her with a glare, pressing that a group of disciples and servants must go within 10 days. Zhao remains cold and detached. The Iceberg disciples whisper their doubts, yet admit they trust him to lead. Later, our lad muses with a smirk, thinking the girl forced him into this, but it actually helps him take control of Iceberg Hall. The Iceberg girls crowd around, laughing. One cries out in mock drama, clutching her chest, saying she is dying, while the others gush that the head is amazing. But Zhao suddenly stiffens and warns if they are truly in danger, they must evacuate at once. Life comes first, and nothing is worth dying foolishly for. She snaps that Sect Master Lei already made the arrangements, and she will not allow anyone to ruin them. Her voice sharp, cutting through the giggles. Yet the disciples whisper with disdain, saying Zhao is just terrified of death, that she would abandon everyone and run alone. One even sneers in her face, calling her out. Zhao's eyes flash with fury as she spits a sharp "you" back at her. The forest shakes as disciples spot the huge beast ahead, its roar splitting the air. One gasps that it is massive, another warns all to be careful. Zhao steps forward, hand raised, declaring she will test the monster first, but her rival scoffs loudly, rallying the disciples with fire in her voice. They rush in, shouting "kill" and serve the sect, blades flashing as the giant creature charges down at them. The fight exploding in chaos. The beast's eyes glow crimson, its roar ripping through the battlefield. Disciples tremble, voices breaking. Some cry that they do not want to die. Others freeze in despair. As the monster charges, panic erupts. But Zhao Ying steps forward, flames burning around her. She steadies herself against the chaos and declares that no disciple of the Zhenxian sect will die before her eyes. The ground shatters, stones flung high as the beast unleashes its power. Red energy spirals through its body, forming a blazing orb that crashes down with crushing force. Its roar shakes the trees as the wave of destruction surges forward, aiming straight for the disciples. The disciples cry out in panic, the beast's attack tearing through the forest. Zhao Ying surges forward, crimson aura blazing. Her strike meets the incoming boulder with a thunderous crack. Stone shatters into dust. Her voice cuts sharp. Ha! As shards scatter through the air, she lands steady, eyes fierce, declaring, "Although I was given to the Queen, Iceberg Hall, my heart still belongs to Zhenshan sect. Do you have any reason to scold me?" The weaker disciples panic, wondering if they should retreat, but Zhao cuts them off, saying, "No, we fight." She orders all disciples to form the Thunder Method Array. Lightning cracks through the air as the formation strikes down at the beast, but it barely flinches. Zhao charges in, the spear glowing red, clashing against the monster. While disciples shout if the array is working, doubt spreads, yet they press forward. Voices call out, urging everyone to support the Hall Master. From the shadows, another figure smirks, mocking Zhao, saying they never expected her to hold such strength, and now things might actually be entertaining. The beast roars, its massive paw swinging down. Zhao meets it head-on, her spear flashing as she snarls, "Stay in shape, continue." But the force is overwhelming. The claw smashes through her guard and she cries out in pain. The disciples panic, shouting, "Quick, protect the Hallmaster." Their formation lights up once again, glowing blue barriers rising around Zhao and the monster. A disciple is flung aside with a cry. Zhao steadies herself, blood on her lip, whispering in defeat, in the end, "I still can't beat it." Her eyes burn with anger as she spits. "Zimo Ying, this is all your fault. If I can get out alive, I will tear you apart." The beast lunges again, but another figure steps forward, blade gleaming with frost. She laughs. "Ha! A berserk sovereign-grade monster? How delightful!" She dashes ahead, hair flying, sword raised, shouting, "Come!" as she charges the raging beast head-on. The bulky lad raises his spear, muttering, "Senior brother, you always dump work on me." Worst times, he breathes deep, channeling force. Shiyuan arrow go! The glowing spear hurtles through the air and slams into the beast's chest. It roars, shaking the forest. Zhao lies wounded, but her disciples rush in. "Sister Zhao, we are here to support you." One smirks, "In fact, I set the arrangements long ago. The field will trap the monster." Zhao blinks weakly, whispering him. The big lad flops back, sweating. "I'm exhausted. I feel hollow." Two disciples whisper, "Sister Zhao has collapsed. The Hallmaster is exhausted." Unexpectedly, the formation still works. "We might hold the Thunder Beast a bit longer." Another adds, "Dark Lord Qi hasn't come back since that banquet. Could it be he's been taken down that night?" Thunder Beast sect under the moonlight. A bald monk, fingers prayer beads, smirking. It seems the Zhao veins are showing their strength. But it doesn't matter. My body has healed. By tomorrow, is this the time that wretched sect will be destroyed?